In case you missed the big announcement, the David Pakman Show is expanding. We're moving to a new studio in Boston, Massachusetts at the end of summer. We're going to be adding staff, expanding programming, and adding an investigative journalism component. We're mostly funded by our audience, and this is a really important time to support us. So please consider going to davidpakman.com/membership, read up about member benefits, and sign up today. There will be 6 Democratic primary debates during the 2016 Democratic primary. We know where 4 of them are going to be. It's going to be Iowa, Nevada, New Hampshire, and South Carolina. 2 of the locations still have not been determined. We have a quote from DNC Chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz about this. She said, quote, "Our debate schedule will not only give Democratic voters multiple opportunities to size up the candidates for the nomination side by side, but will give all Americans a chance to see a unified Democratic vision of economic opportunity and progress, no matter whom our nominee may be." Hillary Clinton tweeting, quote, "While GOP debates the same failed policy, Democrats will debate how to help families get ahead. Looking forward to a real conversation." On the Republican side, they're expected to have somewhere between 9 and 12 primary debates. They may have a dozen or more candidates, Lewis, and it is going to be very tough to stand out unless you do something so insane that it can't, that there's no choice but for it to be the focus of the debates. It could be pretty tough to stand out amongst a dozen Republicans.
Agreed. But I think in certain cases, I think when people are watching these debates, Hillary Clinton kind of stands out regardless of what she says or does, just because she is that famous and prominent and because of her name and status.
And we're going to talk about that in terms of how the Democratic primary is being reported. But you're saying specifically, even just on a stage, even if that stage were to be more crowded, that for Hillary Clinton, that she would stand out anyway.
For many people watching these debates, they might not recognize half the people on that stage, but they'll recognize Hillary Clinton.
It will be interesting to see in these debates where Hillary Clinton positions herself in relation to Bernie Sanders. One strategy would be to sort of play up her populist side. We said, hey, Bernie Sanders, a real progressive, he's going to go up on the stage and he is going to make his populist progressive views known. And we know from polling that the American public, for the most part, agrees with a lot of Bernie Sanders' positions once they're asked about them in a non-hyper-politicized way. Hillary Clinton could go up there and use language that makes it sound as though she basically agrees with what Bernie Sanders is saying, but she would be a better person to implement those policies. That's one idea. On the other hand, Hillary Clinton could go up there and say, I need to actually distinguish myself from Bernie Sanders. I'm going to draw the distinctions between Bernie Sanders and my more moderate positions. I think ultimately it will probably depend on what her campaign thinks is going to poll better, making herself seem as if she's also a populist, but more experienced than Bernie Sanders, or saying, no, this guy is too far left. I'm a moderate Democrat, and I am who you should be voting for.
I think on many social issues, she probably will sound exactly the same as Bernie Sanders, and that might not be good for either one of them. But I think you can expect her to sound a bit more like a Republican when it comes to issues of national security and things like that.
Will the progressive criticisms of Hillary Clinton be done in a way that would still position her to be reasonably supported by progressives in the national election? Let me ask it in a different way. If Hillary Clinton gets really hammered by the actual left during the debates, and she ultimately becomes the nominee, we don't know who will be the nominee. It could be Hillary Clinton. If that happens, will the attacks during the primary be so strong that progressives would have very little credibility by eventually supporting Hillary Clinton in the national election? You could make the argument that, yes, how could someone who hammers Hillary Clinton for not being progressive during the primaries then support her in the national election? Or you could say, well, you're ultimately just going to vote for the candidate who is closest to your point of view. And as moderate as Hillary Clinton may be, she's still going to be closer to a progressive's point of view than someone like Ted Cruz.
I think that is the case. And I think many Americans don't like who they're voting for either way, but they need to pick someone.